The Global Pulse.
Welcome to the Global Pulse, a podcast by Students for Global Health, where we monitor global health trends one beat at a time. Woo! Welcome to the first episode.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So, you are probably wondering, who are we? Why do we think we have the expertise, or I guess, why do we think we can talk about global health? And so we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. I'll go first since I'm already speaking. So my name is Eni. I am currently a global health student at Queen Mary, and before that, I was doing undergrad in biomedical science, which was 2 years ago. And I think global health kind of was introduced to me at the end of my third year. So before that, I had no idea what global health was. And I think that is something we'll probably discuss over some of the other coming episodes. The fact that most people aren't aware that global health is a thing. So currently doing my master's in global health, and I'm also the PR and comms director for Students of Global Health. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm very, very passionate about children's health and just health education within communities, just making sure people are more knowledgeable about their health and are more informed about their health. So I am going to pass it to Edna to introduce herself and kind of what she thinks about global health and
Oh
her
my
involvement.
God. The pressure, because that was so well done. Hi everyone. My name is Edna. I am a retired medical student. By that I mean I am intercalating. I'm currently doing a master's in global health and development, taking a year out of my medical studies. And I'm doing that at UCL. But I'm originally a Lancaster medical student. And I'm the secretary at Students for Global Health. I have always pretty much been interested in global health, health inequalities, inequity. And I'm really excited to be a part of this podcast. So we could talk about all things global health, what's happening in the world, and also sort of demystify it a little bit because I know that for some people it's very like, what is that? What does it mean? And how can you get involved? And I suppose that's the whole point of Students for Global Health is how we as students can get involved in global health matters, global health topics. So yeah, really excited to be here. I'm gonna throw the ball at Ziad.
Thanks, guys. You did such a great introduction, both of you. Um, my name is Ziad. I am an imposter amongst everyone because I'm recently graduated. So I've just started working as a doctor in Nottingham, which has been fun and interesting, as the other medical students here will soon find out. My interest in global health actually started in my third year of university when I was on a GP placement. And the GP was quite frustrated with, one of the circumstances of the patients that they had. And she said, you can't really change the condition of a person without changing the environment. You can give people medications, you can give people support, for in this case, it's about drug abuse or alcohol. But if they're in the same environment that, led them to this, it's not, really solving the problem. And looking at what that truly meant on a deep scale, it's applicable to everyone and, everywhere. That was just locally, but in a global sense, the environment that we find ourselves in, that's what makes us sick. And being aware of that and trying to rectify that, in whatever facet of anything, to be honest, is what global health means to me. So improving people's environments so that they don't get sick, is what I'm really, really passionate about. I am the research officer for SFGH UK. So I work in the international team where I try and arrange exchanges with other medical students from around the world, but we're sort of getting off the ground with that. So more to come. But yeah, that is me. And I will pass over to our amazing Rosie.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction. So my name's Rosie, and I am a medical student at Newcastle Uni. I'm in my last year, but last year I intercalated at King's in global health. And I guess my first introduction to global health was the Marmot report, learning about that at uni. So for those of you who have not read it or not heard of it, it's kind of a report written by Michael Marmot and other colleagues at UCL looking at healthcare inequalities in the UK, and looking at like social determinants of health. I guess that was the start. And kind of through global health and through medicine and the interactions I've seen, I've become really passionate about women's health, particularly defining it very separate to maternal and child health, which it's so often conflated with. And I'm also this year's Policy and Advocacy Director. This year's Policy and Advocacy topic chosen by myself and my co-director, Chloe, is women's health, particularly defining it as very separate to maternal and child health and sexual and reproductive health, which it's like conflated with. So yeah, get to explore that a bit more this year, looking at different angles. So yeah, really excited for the podcast and also the policy and advocacy for this year. Introducing, I guess, one of our segments that will be part of our podcast from this week and carrying on throughout will be kind of what we're all consuming this week in terms of media. So what we're reading, what we're listening to, podcast episode, documentaries, etc. Because there's such a breadth of kind of media covering global health that sometimes these can be the most interesting and the most accessible forms. So I guess I'll start it off. So at the moment, I am reading a book. You can tell the women's health is a real passion of mine. A book called In Defense of Witches. And it's called like Why Women Are Still on Trial by Mona Chollet. And it's a book originally written in French, looking at witches, I guess, in the modern day, focusing on like women's aging and being childless and how kind of women are discriminated against even now. And also on a slightly lighter note, I am listening to Faye Bates' podcast called Her Discussions. She's had like amazing guests on, a little bit about women's health and a little bit about being kind of a successful woman in general, but yeah, really worth a listen. And what's everybody else been listening to, watching, reading this week?
I will kind of follow in your footsteps. I am currently reading a book called Imagination, a Manifesto, and it was actually gifted to me by one of my lecturers, Jennifer Randall. So my first day of uni was last week, and she kind of set the stone of the degree saying we don't want to produce students who basically regurgitate everything that we teach them. She wants us to take what they've taught us and apply it to our lived experiences and other kind of opportunities we interact with. And she just wanted us to give this book a read and just to encourage us to use our imagination. And the first chapter of the book opens up like this. This just tells you how like deep this book is going to be. It says, if I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive. So yeah, it's just like getting you to break out of societal's barriers and norms and actually think outside the box, because I think global health definitely needs more outside of the box thinking rather than following what we've been doing for the past decades and centuries. So yeah, is anyone else reading a book or podcasts?
The only media I've been consuming is my pre-reading for my lectures. It's because first week of uni, although it has been very interesting, we're currently doing some work on health data justice, and so I watched half of the documentary that was required, which is actually an hour long. So I watched half an hour of it, and it specifically focused on essentially what the sort of force behind health data justice is and how we can help to decolonize health data, and to remove the sort of preconceived notions of like colonialism from health data, so that people can be, I suppose, more engaged with it, and therefore it can work to help sort of work towards helping with public health decision making, because obviously there are subsects of the world in which people don't agree with health data, for example, because of misinformation or disinformation. There are people who don't have access to health data and therefore cannot provide the health data because they wouldn't even know where to start. And then there are also people who just don't understand it for many reasons, just like the fact that power is really centralized. So yeah, that was the half documentary I was talking about decentralizing that power and allowing people to.
What was it called?
I will send you the link, or I will add the link to the description.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a real podcast host, that is. Very proud.
It's so interesting you mentioned like decolonizing, because just today, also prep work for my lecture, I was reading a kind of article from someone called Sheyi Abimbola, and he was talking about if like global health can survive like
I
the
read that
process.
too.
It was such a short read because it's 2
Yeah,
pages.
yeah.
If you're a student, you really appreciate those 2-page articles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a good read. If anyone's interested, I think it's called "Can Global Health Survive Decolonization?" and it's by Sheyi Abimbola. He's a researcher from I think the Sydney University in Australia.
Yeah,
But
he was a
if anyone,
previous editor for BMJ Global Health as well. And he also wrote a recentish book about essays in global health. I've been meaning to read it, but it's been a while. But yeah, I mean, personally, I haven't read anything global health recently, but I would highly recommend actually a book by Dr. Sawamimo, a Nigerian English doctor in the UK who works in sexual and reproductive health. And her book is basically about racism and how embedded it is in health. I don't know if anyone else has read it.
Yeah, it's called Divided. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really,
oh my God, I just added that to my reading book
Yeah,
list
really,
today.
really
What
good
the heck?
yeah.
This is so strange.
In the vein of women's health, one of the anecdotes from that is basically in terms of, gynecology, the speculum is, really widely used. But little do we know that that was tested by slave owners on women who, they couldn't, control their pain, and sort of the ethics behind that is actually quite horrible, and is something that is now widely used today that we don't really consider the history behind that. Or even as well, to be honest, to think about how we study genetics even in biology in high school, and to think that scientists for such a long time were trying to prove racial superiority and inferiority as a fact. I was in Frankfurt a few months ago. I was in a museum, and I was just walking through. Germany's got a horrible history, by the way, but as we know about fascism and stuff like that. But one of the things that I completely forgotten about were human zoos, and it's actually really, really awful to see, like an advert, like a poster for that. Little earlier than the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, with like actual people of color in cages, and how that's kind of justified by racial science and all of those types of things. So her book's really, really interesting about medical inequalities and how they've been sort of embedded in, and you have to really, really look to sort of know and peel back the layers behind those things. So interesting to be conscious of where things have come from, to know how we have to kind of change them. Like you guys were saying, how do you know what decolonizing global health means? So that's a really interesting book, I think, which I'd recommend.
If you guys have a copy, please send it my way so it saves me from buying another copy.
I got it on Kindle, so I don't have
I got it in my intercalation, but I passed it on to a family friend and I never got it back.
Okay, that's fine. I would just get it myself.
It was a signed copy as well. I was so upset.
Oh.
We wanted to talk a bit about why we wanted to start a podcast. I think Students for Global Health used to be medicine, so not medicine as in the degree, but medicine, SIN previously. So we've had a long history of interacting with students and encouraging and promoting activism and youth voices. And we thought it was time to reach out and connect with students in a different way. And we thought this was a really, really good way to do that. One of the things we thought was that global health can seem quite inaccessible if it's something you're interested in, especially as well in university educations. It seems for all of us, Edna, Annie, and Rosie, we've all, done intercalations to, further our interests. But that doesn't really, well, shouldn't have to be the case, and you should be able to find material and find interests that you can, read up on or watch to further your knowledge about what's going on and what's been going on. So that's really, why we wanted to do it. We didn't want anyone to feel that, this knowledge is something they can't access. And, having our friendly faces. Smile, everyone. I mean, it's it's a video podcast too. Audio people can hear us laughing, so it's okay, best of both worlds. Our friendly faces and voices, just chat a bit about this common interest that we all have. And hopefully people can, find something that, sparks an interest for them and get involved with Students for Global Health or go on to further their interests in other ways and, can reach out to us and tell us what they've been up to. And we all learn from each other, so hopefully that's where we're going, and we want it to be really fun, really accessible, and everyone can be welcome here.
I would
just
agree,
think-
like global health as a topic seems very inaccessible, and I don't know if anybody else felt that before they did their degree. If you did it in medicine, you did like one session on it, that was it. And like global health is one of those things, like a lot of medicine and a lot of topics has tons of acronyms, and very few people like hold all the power, and you never get told a whole bunch about it. When you Google it, it's so broad. Literally most things can be part of global health. Like, where do you even start? And what are like the main topics in it? How does it all work? So hopefully the aim of this podcast is to break it down, take small things, make it really accessible, like easy to understand, and maybe touch on some topics that you might not have discussed before, something a little bit niche, something a bit new. And like we've just discussed, like we'll be talking about like what we've been reading global health wise, what we've been watching it. So to bring you global health in different forms.
And I also just wanted to add, I should have mentioned it at the start, I'm actually not a medical student. So even though you said, Ziad, you feel like you're the imposter, I feel like I'm the imposter here. And I think hopefully when you listen or watch this podcast and you're not a medical student, I hope that kind of through the conversations that we're having and through the topics that we bring up, you kind of realize that global health isn't just about medicine and healthcare. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love global health is because, like in my degree, for example, we have people who did chemistry, who did maths, who did finance, and all of that has a place in global health. So if you're watching this or you're considering a career in global health and you're like, oh my God, I don't know a thing about the body, I've never had a medical background, but you've studied, I don't know, geography, zoology, or finance, there is a place for you because global health is connected to every single thing in society. And through kind of the degrees we've done, we've kind of realized that global health isn't just a thing by itself. And yeah, I hope you guys like feel like you can be a part of the conversations when we're kind of talking to each other and we post questions in the comment section. And even though you're not medical students, feel free to give your answers from a political point of view, economic point of view, and I don't know what other fields. My brain's gone blank, but just yeah, global health is not just for medical students. And yeah. just wanted to say that I'm not a medical student.
Shout out, Eddie. We love you. We see you. We appreciate you.
Thanks.
I think it's to your benefit. I think it's to all of our benefits. That's the whole kind
Yeah.
of thing that's interesting about global health, is that it's people from across the fields, and that's the only way that it works. Because it's so socially determined and it's about your environment, there's no way you could just put it all into medicine. It just doesn't all fit.
Oh no, 100%. That's sort
Yeah.
of, like what my initial thing was. Like, if you can't change an environment, like Rosie said, and what that GP told me, you can't do anything, and doctors can only do so much. You go to a GP for a 10-minute appointment. You can't radically change someone's way of living. It's just not. You wish you could. You really, really wish you could, but it's just not how the world works. And that's why you need everyone to, have their input in how, someone's living their life and how to make that life healthy in all facets of it. Policy for housing or clean air, all of those things is so important, and it's 100% not down to a doctor.
Yeah, I think the word is interdisciplinary.
Yeah.
Interdisciplinary, that's a big word. But
Yeah, interdisciplinary,
Yeah.
multi, blah, blah.
yeah, all the words. But Rosie, when you were
Collaborative, blah, blah.
collaborative frameworks. No, but Rosie, when you were talking about the like acronyms and whatnot, I remember the first time I went to an SFGH conference, and it was literally, I remember, of course, it was earlier this year, but and they were saying IFMSA, Leo, Lori, Nori. I was like, what is all of this?
Maybe we should break down even SFGH.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening,
Ooh.
that is our acronym for Students for Global Health. And we use it all the time. We never explain it. So SFGH, Students for Global Health. And all the rest will come to in later episodes.
Yes. If you would like to get involved in our wonderful charity, here are some ways that you can get involved. First of all, by following us on Instagram and our brand new TikTok. Our Instagram is a comms director. What is our Instagram handle?
We are Students for Global Health.
We are Students for
Say
Global
it with confidence, Eddie.
It will be in
We are Students for Global Health.
What are we, Annie?
it will be in the description. Give us a follow, like our stuff, interact, but also most importantly, follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, share this with your friends, give us a comment, let us know what you liked, and then if you dislike things, just send it on a private email. No, I'm joking.
Or just don't say it. Don't
yourself.
say it, guys. Yeah. Be nice to us. We're learning. We're students.
Also, most importantly, join your local Students for Global Health, but I was going to say SFGH then. Join your local Students for Global Health branch. We've just had Freshers Week. We're, recruiting new members. And branches will be having loads of welcome events for you to get involved. We'll be posting an episode on YouTube and Spotify fortnightly. And we'll have other members of our national committee on here. We'll also have other members of Students for Global Health nationally from branches. We'll also have fun guests. I won't give too much away, but there's a lot in store for this podcast, and we're really excited to share with you.
It's yet to be announced on socials, but some of Students for Global Health members will be attending the World Health Summit in Berlin. So they'll be bringing you everything World Health Summit, behind the scenes, talks that happened, any networking that we did. So if you want anything to do with that, what is the World Health Summit? Come back in 2 weeks' time. We'll tell you all about it.
So thank you everybody for listening. I've been Edna.
Annie.
I've been Rosie. Oh,
I've
go on.
been Ziad.
We'll work on the outro. But we will see you in 2 weeks for another episode of The Global Pulse. Bye. I'll give a wave.
Bye.
The Global Pulse.